All right, let's get ready to really dive deep into Johnny Bravo today.
Oh, yeah. That classic Cartoon Network show ran 97 to 2004, right?
Yeah.
Produced by Hanna-Barbera and then Cartoon Network itself.
Exactly. It was such a fixture.
Yeah.
And our main source for this is going to be that massive 95-minute YouTube video from Jartoon.
The entire story of Johnny Bravo in 95 minutes. Yep, saw that. It really covers, well, pretty much everything.
It does. So our mission today is basically to unpack the humor, the themes, figure out what made this show tick by looking at the storylines.
Right. We're talking Johnny's character, his constant romantic failures, the weird adventures, the whole cast.
Think of it as getting under the hood of the show. We want to understand the comedy, those recurring bits, just the sheer weirdness sometimes.
Definitely. It's going to be fun revisiting some of those truly bizarre moments. You really do watch it and sometimes just go, huh.
Totally. Okay, so let's start with the man himself, Johnny Bravo. This, Elvis wannabe, super narcissistic guy.
Yeah, the pompadour, the glasses, the muscles. He thinks he's the coolest guy on the planet.
But the whole joke is, he's absolutely terrible with women, right?
Yeah.
His main goal is always to pick up chicks, and he fails. Spectacular.
Single time. And it's usually his own over-the-top macho thing that ruins.
So why does that work so well comedically? Why is it funny episode after episode?
Well, it's partly that classic archetype, the buffoon who thinks he's smooth.
Mm-hmm.
But Johnny amps it up with that whole retro, 50s greaser vibe mixed with the Elvis thing.
Right. It feels kind of out of time.
Exactly. And then you've got the supporting cast reacting to him. They're usually way more normal, or at least normal adjacent for cartoon.
Yeah, let's talk about them. Little Susie, the neighbor kid, she's way smarter than him.
Oh, definitely. Super sarcastic.
Yeah.
Always seems kind of unimpressed by Johnny.
Then there's Bunny Bravo, his mom. Loves him unconditionally, but maybe a little oblivious.
Completely. Supports him no matter what ridiculous thing he's doing.
Yeah.
And Carl the nerd.
Claims to be his best friend. Johnny mostly just seems annoyed by him.
Yeah, Carl's just there. And Pops, the diner owner. Seen it all, not easily impressed.
Right. So these characters, they kind of ground the show, don't they?
Totally. They're the baseline. You see how Johnny acts, and then you see their reactions, and it just highlights how ridiculous he is. Susie's wit, Bunny's clueless support, Carl's geekiness, Pops' deadpan stare. It all works together.
Okay, so let's jump into the very first episode, just called Johnny Bravo. He's at the zoo, trying his moves.
And failing immediately. Right off the bat, you get the formula, tries to flirt, gets rejected, often painfully.
Yeah.
I think he gets tased in that one.
He does. And then there's a missing gorilla plot.
Yeah, and Johnny thinks he's the hero who can solve it, naturally, even though he has no idea what he's doing.
And he ends up tackling some random mugger instead of the gorilla.
Right. Classic misinterpretation. The zookeeper just wants her gorilla back. She couldn't care less about Johnny's heroics.
And the best part is when he asks for a reward, like a kiss, and she points out he's still, sitting on the actual criminal.
It's perfect. It sums him up instantly. Big intentions, zero self-awareness, completely clueless about the situation, sets the tone for everything.
For sure. And it wasn't a one-off. What about Johnny Bravo and the Amazon women? He's trying his luck on a whale-watching cruise.
Which goes about as well as the zoo. Pepper spray, ends up overboard.
But he doesn't just wash ashore normally. This episode really pushes the boat out, doesn't it?
Lands on an island of giant women. Giant. And they are not impressed.
Not at all. Gets chased by a huge purple elephant called Christopher, loses his pants.
Standard Tuesday for Johnny.
And then they mistake him for a virgin sacrifice for Athena. How do they make that funny instead of just weird?
I think it's Johnny's reaction. He's facing being thrown into a volcano, but he's still kind of preoccupied with himself. It's the contrast. Huge stakes. And he's still Johnny.
And even when he escapes that, he lands on another island full of really handsome guys who are super into him.
And he's horrified, which just shows it's not about admiration. It's about female admiration for him. His focus is absolute.
The universe just loves messing with him specifically. Okay, let's shift gears. Super dupe Johnny as a superhero.
Well, kinda. Little Susie ropes him into being Bravo Man for show and tell.
Right. And then, when you know it, a real bank robbery happens across the street.
Perfect timing. And the comedy here is just chef's kiss. The total gap between his idea of being a hero and his actual ability.
He's terrible. He keeps getting beaten up by the villain, Sweet Cheeks, who's powered by candy.
Yeah. And the best part is the kids watching. They think his fumbling and getting pummeled are just unconventional tactics. They totally buy it.
The police are just standing there too, letting Bravo Man handle it. It's brilliant cartoon logic.
And then Pretty Boy shows up. The actual competent, charming superhero.
Ugh, Pretty Boy steals the show, impresses the teacher. Just another humiliation for Johnny.
It constantly reinforces that gap between his ego and reality.
Oh.
No matter how cool he thinks he is, someone cooler usually shows up.
Seems to be a running theme. Okay, what about sensitive male? Johnny tries to learn sensitivity from a guru. This goes well, I assume.
Oh, flawlessly. No, it's a disaster. It's basically a masterclass in missing the point.
What's the satire here? Just mocking fake sensitivity?
Pretty much. The guru gives him advice like, observe women, and Johnny takes it so literally, he ends up, like, staring intensely at a woman walking a dog in a stroller.
Oh, God, I remember that. And embracing his feminine side means
Putting on a dress and lipstick and thinking that's sensitivity, he just doesn't get it.
the scene at the fountain is peak cringe. He tries to be respectful but calls a woman hot mama.
He just fundamentally misunderstands. You can't just change your words without changing your attitude. It doesn't work.
And the ending. The guru turns out to be a fraud himself, just trying to pick up women, and then this angry mob shows up.
Yeah, it really drives home the point about genuine respect versus just putting on an act.
Okay, next up, a fan favorite. Bravo, Scooby-Doo, the crossover.
Yes, so good. Johnny's car breaks down, Mystery Machine pulls up. It felt so natural somehow.
It really did. What makes that blend work?
It's Johnny's vanity crashing into the Scooby Gang's whole routine. He's trying to impress Daphne, obviously.
Of course.
And they're trying to solve a mystery at his aunt's creepy mansion. You get the classic chase scene, Shaggy and Scooby wanting snacks.
Velma losing her glasses.
Right, all the Scooby trope, but with Johnny constantly getting in the way, being completely unhelpful.
He's basically a hazard to their investigation.
Pretty much. And the reveal of the ghost. It's his aunt, who just doesn't like him.
Huh, that's such a Johnny Bravo twist. Not some elaborate plot, just
Yeah,
she finds him annoying.
exactly. And then they tie him to a tree at the end. Perfect.
Okay, let's talk dating, or Johnny's version of it. Date with an antelope.
Right.
The title says a lot.
It really does. His blind date, Carol, she's an actual antelope.
How? How do they make that funny? It's just so bizarre.
They play it weirdly straight, in a way. Like, Johnny's shocked for a second, then he just kind of rolls with it, tries to have a normal date,
The car ride must have been interesting.
and the restaurant.
Yeah.
But the twist is even weirder. She's only dating him to make her boyfriend jealous.
Oh, okay.
And her boyfriend is a giant crab, who Johnny ends up getting arrested with.
A giant crab. Right. Okay. It's just layers upon layers of ridiculousness.
It's commitment to the bit, pushing the absurdity as far as it can go. Don't date antelopes, I guess. That's the lesson.
Cattle solid advice.
Yeah.
Then there's Johnny meets Farrah Fawcett. He finds out she's going to be at Susie's birthday party.
And suddenly, he cares deeply about Susie's party.
Yeah.
Highlights his priorities, right? Celebrity over everything.
His attempts to crash the party are just wow.
The clown suit.
The balloons, the dinosaur costume he steals, each one fails more spectacularly than the last.
He has zero shame, zero self-awareness.
None. And he finally gets in wearing the dino suit, and Fairfoss gives the mascot a kiss. The ire.
And then the kids use him as a bouncy castle.
Yeah.
A fitting end. Absolutely. Perfect Johnny.
Let's see. A wolf in chick's clothing. He actually gets a date. Seems normal at first.
Seems normal until the sun goes down. Then she turns into a wolf.
A werewolf date. How does that play out?
Lots of chaos, property damage, bewildered bystanders,
Ew.
standard werewolf stuff, played for laughs. But the real twist isn't the wolf part.
Ooh, what's the twist?
It's what happens on Wednesdays.
Wednesdays.
Yeah. She doesn't just turn back human. On Wednesday, she turns into this really annoying bald stamp collector named Mig Vin.
Yeah, Vivian, wow, that's specific.
Right. It just takes the absurdity dial and cranks it way past 11. Johnny wants out.
Yeah.
Fast.
Can't blame him there. Okay, let's talk physical comedy. Intensive care. Susie's in the hospital.
And Johnny sees a chance to impress a nurse, which naturally involves faking injuries.
But then Susie's colleague Alon's shows up, and things get violent.
Oh, yeah. Pure slapstick. Mallets, falling pianos, dog attacks. Johnny takes an absolute beating, all self-inflicted in a way.
And after all that, he ends up in a full body cast for real and catches chickenpox from Susie.
The universe has a way of balancing the scale. Does he learn anything? Probably not.
Doesn't seem like it. Okay, more supernatural stuff in Going Batty. A date with a vampire, Lois.
Yep, garlic aversion, no reflection, the usual vampire tropes are there.
But that's not the main conflict, is it?
No, the real issue is her ex-boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
who is also a vampire and extremely jealous.
So he tries to sabotage the date.
Constantly. Strangling the spaghetti, rigging the strength game at the carnival. It's petty vampire sabotage.
And then the reveal that, like, everyone else at the carnival is also a monster.
Yeah. Suddenly, dating a vampire seems almost normal in context. It's a clever flip.
Okay, how about red-faced in the White House? Johnny offends every woman on a tour with one comment.
One spectacular sexist comment, yeah. Sets off a chase through the White House.
High-stakes setting for his usual cluelessness.
Definitely. But the highlight is when he accidentally bumps into the president's daughter and gets a sort of date.
Which lasts about 5 minutes.
If that. She realizes he's got nothing upstairs and just ditches him. It's brutal but funny.
And he gets thrown out by the Secret Service, landing in a pile of rejected robot boyfriends.
The perfect weird ending. A little bit of political satire, maybe, or just absurdity.
Could be both. Then Bikini Space Planet. Alien abduction time.
Triggered by his usual beach pickup attempts, failing, of course, 2 alien women beam him up. This one goes pretty far out, literally. They test him. They offer to make him king.
Is this finally it? Is Johnny gonna win?
It looks like it for a second. Luxurious chambers, the whole deal.
But there's always the price.
The aliens see some hyper macho guy on TV and instantly lose interest in Johnny.
Oh, wow. So even alien royalty prefers someone else.
Yep. Back to Earth he goes. Just underscores how superficial any attention he gets really is. His brand of cool is just not that cool.
Back on Earth, beach blanket Bravo, more beach failures.
This one feels like classic Johnny. Trying to impress girls, failing, impersonating a lifeguard.
Carl gets covered in seaweed.
Poor Carl. Always in the wrong place. And the ultimate irony. Johnny tries to fake drowning to get rescued by a girl.
And gets a cramp for real and has to be rescued by
Carl. The guy he barely tolerates saves him. Perfect poetic justice.
Okay, jailbird Johnny. This one starts small, right? Littering.
Yeah. Drops a candy wrapper.
Yeah.
And gets sentenced to, 86 consecutive life sentences.
Something insane like that. The punishment does not fit the crime.
Not even close. That's the first joke.
But
the real kicker is the typo.
A typo.
Yeah, a typo sends him to a women's prison instead of men's.
Oh, boy. And Johnny's reaction is predictable.
He's delighted, naturally. Thinks he's hit the jackpot.
While Bunny and Susie are frantically trying to prove his innocence with security footage.
Right. And they do. They clear his name. But
he doesn't want to leave, does he?
Nope. He's quite happy where he is. Priorities again. Even prison is fine if it's the right prison.
Unbelievable. Okay, things get wilder. Ape is enough, Skull Island.
Yep. Johnny, Pops, and Carl are looking for a recipe. Johnny gets nabbed by a local tribe.
But that's not the main event, right?
No, the main event is when he gets abducted by a giant female ape who takes a liking to him.
Like King Kong, but Johnny Bravo.
Pretty much. She's trying to seduce him. Carl ends up inside her brief. Bizarre.
And Pop's solution. Bring the giant ape back home as a tourist attraction.
Of course. Seems logical to Pops. Leads to chaos, obviously.
Until Bunny shows up with vacation slides.
Yep. Her incredibly boring slideshows manage to subdue the giant ape. The mundane defeats the monstrous. Classic Bravo.
Then there's Welcome Back Bravo. Turns out Johnny never passed 4th grade.
Correct. So he has to go back to elementary school with Susie.
Ah, the humiliation. How does that go?
About as well as you'd expect. He tries to hit on his teacher. Fails miserably in things like cafeteria conduct and respect for others.
Actually, doesn't he blow something up on a field trip?
Yeah, accidentally sets off a bomb at a museum, but somehow saves the class in the process.
And graduates because of it. Even though he learned nothing.
It's exactly. Incompetence accidentally leading to success. Another running theme.
The man with the golden gut. The Abdominizer 900.
Which Johnny turns into basically a medieval torture device.
And gets famous because the rope burn looks like Mount Rushmore.
On his stomach, yeah. It's pure satire of fleeting fame and weird trends. Pops tries to cash in, obviously.
But Johnny's love for junk food ruins it, right?
The abs disappear.
Vanish overnight. Their comeback attempt fails miserably. Fame is fickle, especially when it's based on rope burn.
True that. Okay, Johnny Bravo goes to Hollywood. He gets scouted.
Yep, a movie producer thinks he's got star potential. Off to Hollywood they go.
Does he make it big?
He makes a big mess, gets replaced by CGI Mark Hamill, causes chaos on multiple film sets.
CGI Mark Hamill.
Wow.
Yeah. Johnny realizes he belongs back in Aaron City, but the welcome home party isn't even for him, it's for the bus driver.
Oh, the indignity.
But all the chaos he caused on set got filmed and turned into a blooper reel that makes him famous anyway. Accidental fame, again.
It always comes back to that. Home Alone. Johnny's left alone for a week. This should be fine.
Famous last words. He immediately locks himself out. Susie tries to help, but he won't listen.
And then things escalate.
Oh, boy, do they. Food tornado in the kitchen, wrecking ball through the wall, mudslide, flood, a pony steals his clothes.
A clothes-stealing pony.
Yep. And then fairy tale creatures invade the house. Yeah. It's just utter cartoon destruction.
Susie has to save the day just before Bunny gets back.
Of course. Miraculously restored. Classic cartoon reset.
T's for trouble. Mr. T helping Johnny face a childhood bully.
Little Ricky Simmons. And Mr. T gives him advice. That's maybe a little dated. And Johnny's attempts to be intimidating are hilarious. The peep dress. So bad, the bully just keeps bullying him.
Until Johnny uses Mr. T's other advice, right?
The healthy snack advice. Celery, peanut butter, raisins. That's what finally stops little Ricky.
Healthy snacks defeat the bully. Unexpected.
Very unexpected, very funny.
Okay, the time of my life. This one feels a bit different. Johnny finds an old crush in his yearbook.
Sandy Baker. Yeah, there's a flashback where she was actually nice to him when he was being bullied. It's almost sweet.
Almost. There was a prom misunderstanding.
Yeah, he thought she stood him up, but then she visits him years later.
And reveals she was moving away that night, couldn't make it, and oh yeah, she's married with 7 kids now.
Bam, right in the feels. A little bit of misconnection, a touch of melancholy. Still funny, but different.
Shows a glimpse of a different path. Wilderness Protection Program.
Oh.
Johnny, protecting Barris.
A moose. Becky. Very affectionate moose. Who's hiding from the mob?
The mob.
Well, turns out it's the Elks Club. They're missing a piece from their jigsaw puzzle.
The Elks Club. Okay, that's brilliant.
The whole thing is absurd. They pretend to be married. Becky misunderstands a conversation about the puzzle. They try to warn Bears about honey theft. It's just layers of goofy misunderstanding.
Pure Johnny Bravo logic.
Exactly.
And finally, back on Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, Shaq's having a terrible run of bad luck in basketball. He bumps into Johnny.
And suddenly starts winning. Johnny's a good luck charm.
Apparently. They have this brief, weird partnership. Johnny gets famous just for being near Shaq.
But Shaq eventually realizes he can win on his own.
And ditches Johnny pretty quick. No hard feelings, just doesn't need the charm anymore.
And Johnny ends up having hot cocoa with Seth Green and Huckleberry Hound.
As one does. A perfectly bizarre ending to a bizarre episode. Sums up the show's random.
So wrapping this all up, looking back at everything, the show really relies on Johnny's unshakable self-love.
Absolutely. That narcissistic core leading to constant romantic failure. That's pillar number 1.
And pillar number 2 is just the sheer weirdness, the bizarre situations, the slapstick, the way logic just goes out the window.
Totally. And number 3 is that supporting cast. Bunny, Susie, Carl, Pops.
Yeah.
They're essential foils for his madness.
But even knowing the formula, the show managed to be surprising, didn't it? The timing, the weird twist.
Oh, definitely. The comedic timing was often spot on, and they were never afraid to just throw in something completely out of left field like McVan the Stamp Collector or the Elks Club mob. That's what made it so memorable.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with. Johnny fails constantly. He's often kind of obnoxious, completely unaware. But why do we keep watching? What is it about that maybe delusional constant?
Yeah, is there something almost admirable or maybe just fascinating about someone who keeps going with that level of misplaced self-belief despite everything?
It makes you think, right? Maybe watching Johnny Bravo again after this discussion, you'll see it a bit.
Could be. Definitely worth revisiting or checking out that Jartoon video if you want the full chronological experience.
Right.
It's a unique beast, that show.
For sure. So go check it out, see if you find a new appreciation for the original cartoon himbo. Until our next deep dive, stay curious.